Good day. Welcome to PwC's Boardroom Forum Live talk show. Today, we'll be talking to you about cybersecurity oversight, and our specific topic and focus for today is going to be on third-party security risk. Organizations are becoming increasingly dependent on third-party products and services to effectively innovate, scale, and grow their complex business models. The growing number of third-party dependencies also comes with several challenges that organizations need to face. Breaches of third-party may force your organization to respond to incidents that are outside of its control or originate from an indirect source. Although you might not have an obligation to respond under current breach regulations, your organization could still suffer significant reputational damage as a result of the incident. Further, your customers could be at an increased risk from criminals seeking to exploit a breach regardless of how the incident originated. To talk to us a bit more about it today, I have Mariska Skriba, who is a senior manager in PwC's cyber strategy business practice. Nice to have you on our show today, Mariska.
Thank you.
Thank
you for having me.
Great, thanks. To kick us off, Mariska, if you could perhaps just tell us a bit around what third-party security risk is. Define the concept for us, please.
Sure. So third parties can be suppliers, vendors, business partners, or any entity doing business directly with your organization. So as you may know, these days, almost all businesses rely on third parties because it's just easier sometimes to outsource to an expert within a given field compared to just trying to do it yourselves. Because most of the time you don't have the relevant resources or you don't have the relevant skilled resources, if I can say it like that. And it makes it quite difficult because you don't typically have control over these third parties. You also don't really have a comprehensive or complete view of the security controls that they have implemented. So some third parties, they have a whole comprehensive security solution with all the security controls in place. But you also then get the third parties that don't have anything in place, so they're not mature enough. And this also creates a problem because a third party is potentially an attack vector for cyber attacks and security incidents. And if the third party has a vulnerable attack surface, it could be used to actually gain access to your organization's sensitive data and information as well. So the more third parties you have, the bigger your attack surface is actually at the end of the day. So it is exposing you to more vulnerabilities. So when a third party has a third party, it becomes your fourth party. So at the end of the day, if you look at it, you actually need to manage a complete supply chain against your cyber attacks. And these days, third-party security risks actually is one of the top cybersecurity risks.
So what are some of the common third-party cybersecurity risks?
So some of the common cybersecurity risks, well, there are quite a lot, but it could be weak passwords, outdated software, unencrypted data, and it's basically just not having the relevant security controls in place. And then, as always, human error, because they always see humans as being the weakest link in cybersecurity.
So it's very interesting what you're speaking about, Mariska. Tell us a bit around the types of risks that third parties can introduce to an organization.
So there are different types of risks that third parties can pose to an organization, such as cybersecurity risks. So that will be the risk of exposure or loss because of a cyber attack or security incident. You get operational risk as well. So that is the risk of not operating the way that you're supposed to be because a third party is disrupting your business operations, that something happened there. Then you get your legal, regulatory, and compliance risk as well. So that is the risk of not complying to agreements, local legislation, regulation, because of third parties as well. And that can actually lead to fines, lawsuits, and even regulatory actions as well. Then you get financial risk, and that could be that a third party is standing in your way to actually obtain your financial success, because you are actually relying on the third party to provide you, for example, products. Now you can't sell the products, so you can't actually meet your financial successes. Then you also get the reputational risk. So there it might be negative sentiment out there because there is an unhappy client, and they went out and they reviewed like a bad review, if they're not happy. And that is just the tip of the iceberg as well.
So Mariska, PwC recently released findings on its 2023 Global Digital Trust Insight Survey. Are there any interesting statistics on third-party security risks which you noted?
Yes, so PwC surveyed 3,522 business and tech executives. And findings from the survey showed us that CISOs and other executives responsible for cybersecurity policies and resilience have made some progress. And out of that survey, 70% respondents said they have improved their supply chain risk management process. And about half of the CISOs we surveyed have fully implemented a number of measures to manage their cyber third parties as well. However, on the negative side, still 34% expect threats from third parties to affect them significantly in 2023. And 32% pointed to their software supply chain as a potential culprit, which is quite interesting. But I think the most important or the most concerning was that more than half, I think it was about 63% of the executives indicated that they were not confident that they can provide information related to third-party risk management. And this just shows that third-party risks are still heavily undermanaged by some organizations.
So on that note, how should organizations manage third-party risks and prepare their businesses?
So there are different things that they can do as well, but the most important is to have a third-party risk management framework in place. So part of that framework is to cover all the third-party lifecycle processes. So for example, the identification and selection. So how do you actually identify and select the third parties that you would like to onboard? And then to do due diligence as well, and risk assessment. So before you onboard a third party, you need to do risk assessments. So just understand the environment. And part of that assessment is to also check if they have any cybersecurity or information security processes in place. Then to do ongoing monitoring as well. So while they are onboarded, you monitor, you check them for contract compliance, and are they actually doing what they're supposed to do. And also you need to make sure you have all the contractual and all the contracts in place. So that is what are you actually expecting from the third party? Also to cover all the actions that they need to take, and to have SLAs in place, and also the risk and the consequences if something should happen. So say for example a data breach, or what are the steps that you're going to follow then? And then also the exit process. So if you need to offboard a third party, what are the steps that you need to take? That could be, for example, to revoke their access, or to give assets back if they actually had some of your organization's assets as well.
So then why is it important to manage third-party cybersecurity risks?
Managing cybersecurity risks is important because of, to avoid financial losses, to maintain regulatory compliance, to protect yourself, your organization's brand and reputation, and just to protect yourself as well from cyber attacks.
So Mariska, take us through, if you could, PwC's offering to clients in terms of third-party cybersecurity risk management. What does PwC offer in this space?
So PwC helps clients to identify, assess, and manage third-party security risks. And usually we base that on recommended security frameworks or standards, such as NIST, CIS, or ISO 27001 and 2. And our approach to third-party risk management includes several key components, such as risk management, like I mentioned earlier. So for example, we will look at the client's third-party risk management framework. So there we will look at any gaps that they might have within their framework. We recommend then how to bridge those gaps. We also tell them what will the impact be if they don't have those specific security controls in place. And then part of that is we offer that we can do assessments on our clients as third parties as well. So covering the key areas that I also mentioned earlier and actually more. Then we also do due diligence. So we assist clients in conducting due diligence on third parties, including reviewing the vendor's reputation and regulatory compliance history. And then we also do contract reviews. So for example, we review contracts and agreements between our clients and their third parties, just to ensure that they include appropriate security and data protection provisions as well. And then monitoring and reporting. So we provide ongoing monitoring and reporting on third-party risks, including regular security assessments and compliance reviews. And then the last one is incident response planning. So there we help clients to develop incident response plans and also actually business continuity plans that will address specific third-party risks, including procedures for identifying and responding to breaches or attacks that originate from third parties.
It's quite a lot, and it's really been very insightful speaking to you this morning. Before we close off, do you have any last remarks?
Yes, I think just to summarize is that everyone should know that there is no way to eliminate all threats related to third parties. What you can do is to have the relevant cyber controls in place and try and align to recommended security frameworks and standards like NIST, CIS, ISO 27001 and 2, like I mentioned earlier. And I think just overall that organizations, they should just be aware of third-party risks and just then manage that. Yeah, I think that would be my recommendation as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for your insights again, Mariska. Thank you. Really been valuable.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are joining us today, we look forward to meeting you at our next session. Thanks.